Hello, fighters. Can everybody see us okay? If you can see us, type into the chat. If you can hear us, let us know. We're coming to you live. I'm coming from Bali and Xenia's streaming in from Adelaide. Welcome,
Mhm.
Xenia.
Adelaide, Australia. Thanks for having me.
We've got a special guest, Xenia, tonight. We are talking about property management and we're going to be diving into the 7 tips for managing rental properties. Look, there's a lot we need to get through tonight. So we'll get started. So, welcome, Xenia. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and the company. We've got the Rent by Repeat.
Yep. So we've got a brand new company coming up with yourself. So that's really exciting, Christina. So, I'm just seeing that there's a few people that have joined us. So that's really
Fantastic.
exciting as well.
Awesome. Good stuff,
Yay!
guys.
Yay!
Yes, we're launching Buy, Rent, Repeat
Yes. Yep.
property
We're,
management
we're
company.
launching that. So I have got over 20 years experience as a property manager. So I have ran a few different real estate companies. So we're launching a brand new one. So it will be the same systems and the same people as the company that I'm running now, except we're going to have yourself, Christina, involved. So what that means is that there's going to be a bit of an overlap with positive property, so you have access to Christina and her knowledge. I'm a property manager, so I can physically manage a property, but I can't guide people to buy more properties and the things that you do. So it'll be exciting to have that partnership. And
Yeah, 100%. It's been
yeah.
something that I've been manifesting, I feel like almost for the past 10
Mhm.
years because I've always loved property investing. I'm always going to invest in property, but then once you get a property, it's sort of like how do you manage that property?
Mhm.
And the number one thing you must do in order to create passive income is you must get your investments under professional property management. I can't say that enough because you don't want to be left with doing all that management side of things.
Absolutely.
That's not your forte. You're there to invest in property. You're not there to manage the property.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see so many people that get things wrong. So you get a contract wrong, or you don't follow the correct legislation, or you didn't know that the legislation has changed. And all of the like SACA or all of the things that regulate legislation around Australia are very trigger happy with issuing fines. And the fines in South Australia at the moment are up to $50,000.
Wow.
Getting
Yeah.
something wrong. So you definitely need a property manager to keep on top of legislation, as well as everything else.
Oh, 100%. And you're not
Mhm.
there to worry about tenants. You're not there to fix anything wrong with the property. And you really want to leave that to the professionals at the end of the day. That's why you're thinking who, not how. You're thinking of how can I get the right person in the right seat managing my asset because you've got basically, a 500,000 to $1 million asset there.
Mhm.
So it's pretty important that you get proper professional management helping you out.
Absolutely. So what you should do is hand over the keys, hand over a bank account, and walk away. The property manager does everything else.
Mm. Absolutely. And we're going to dive into the 7 tips for managing rental properties. So, what's first on the list? Have we got tonight?
Okay, well, these are not in no particular order. I've just written down seven tips.
Random order.
The random order. But what's really important, I think, is cleaning. Um, getting the property properly cleaned at the beginning of the tenancy,
Yeah,
and the reason is it's because, like you said, 500 to $1 million asset.
yeah.
And have you heard of the graffiti effect, Christine?
Yes, only because of you though. But
Oh,
for
okay,
those
okay, then
viewers who are joining us, you may or may not have. Type in the chat. Let us know if you've heard of the graffiti effect. This is a
yeah,
really interesting psychology and understanding once you
yes.
hear about this concept.
So
Because the first time I heard about it, I was like, "Wow, that makes so much sense."
yeah, so it's a social studies thing that was done where buildings that have had graffiti on them, if the councils left it there, within time that wall would have a lot of graffiti and holes and things like that because it sends the message that we disrespect this property. And I suppose, Christina, have you ever walked into a house that is miraculously clean, like really, really clean, and the floors are shining and all of that? I mean, one of the first things that I do is I always say, should I take my shoes off? You know,
Yes.
so
Yes,
that is
I
a really
love
good
clean
thing.
houses. Me personally, I'm a neat freak. I've got a bit of OCD. I always like my environment to be tidy and clean and clutter free because that means I can just think clearly when I'm in a clean environment. So I,
Yeah.
I really notice, especially when I walk into a clean house.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you respect that cleanliness that is there from
Absolutely.
the beginning. But if you walk into somewhere and there's like dog hairs all over the floor and it's a
Mm,
bit shabby, you're not going to ask, should I take my shoes off? Because the first thing that you're going to think is these people don't really respect their house as much as somebody that's clean, or they could be busy or whatever
yeah.
it is. But psychologically, you don't have that same respect for the property. And
Mm,
same with properties at the beginning of a tenancy, if you don't actually have it cleaned really, really well,
mhm.
and you leave, a handprint here and, a dusty blind there and, a few marks on the windows, a few burn marks on the oven,
Mm,
all of that kind of thing. The tenant's going to notice that and think, well, they don't really care that much.
yeah, that's
It
true.
doesn't really matter. I can leave 10 marks at the end and whatever. So one hand mark is going to turn into 10. And then, by the end of about 5 years, that property is going to be trashed. Uh,
Wow.
and they get trashed a lot more sooner than a property that is clean and detailed
Mhm.
between tenancies. So I like properties to be completely detailed between tenancies, just like you would detail a car
Yeah.
before you sell it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So getting that thorough, deep clean, that proper end of lease clean. And look, an end of
Mhm.
lease clean is very different to just your everyday clean.
Yeah.
It's a thorough, in-depth clean where they go over the skirting boards, they go over everything, take marks off the walls. Like it's the clean that gets the house to the next level.
Yeah, yeah, and that is exactly how you would like to be presenting it to the
Yeah.
next person. So I would be looking at my ingoing inspection. So whoever's managing your property, make sure that they don't have, dust on blind or,
Mm.
I lose my mind in my office if I see my property managers writing, there was dust on the skirting boards. I make them carry spray and wipe and
Carry a Windex. It's like they have a little, like,
uh,
utility belt, and instead of having, like, hammers and things like that in it, they've got, like, a Windex.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, if it's gotta be 10 minutes, they can do it. That's fine. I would rather them spend 10 minutes cleaning it and then taking a photo,
Yeah,
rather than actually just sitting there writing that it's dusty, because if they do that, that shows that the property was not in a good condition at the beginning of the tenancy, and then it's very hard to charge cleaning at the end.
right.
If it's gonna be more than 10 minutes, we get a cleaner in, so I don't expect property managers to sit there on their hands and knees and clean skirting boards. But if
Yeah.
it's gonna be like a simple thing, a light shade or something
Mhm.
like that, just quickly get it cleaned and take photos. Yeah, I just don't want to see any clean marks or unclean marks in my
Mm.
ingoing inspections. I don't mind them documenting something that is broken,
Absolutely.
like a mark on a bench or something like that, because you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
If the bench is dirty, for God's sake, get it cleaned up.
Exactly.
Get it
Whatever's in
cleaned
their
up.
control, they should just fix, especially if it's a quick fix. So that's something you and your team would do. You'd obviously help organise the end of lease cleans.
Absolutely, yep, yep. We've got our own in-house cleaners,
Wow.
and I would send them back 8 times sometimes,
Wow.
that make sure that they're in a really good condition.
High standards. It's a good
Very
thing
high
to have.
standards. Yep, yep.
Fantastic. Okay, what's next on the list?
Okay, so the number one, I want people to try and guess, what is the number one expense on a property?
Number one expense on a property. Well, I would say the mortgage.
That's yeah, that probably is. But the number one expense that you can actually help, is vacancies. So,
Ah,
and this is
yes.
people don't agent fees. No,
Not
not
agent fees.
Facebook user.
No.
Maintenance, yeah, maintenance, but
Vacancies, yes.
vacancies
Okay. So
are
no one's paying
invisible.
rent weekly, so you've got
Yeah,
that vacancy.
they are an invisible expense. Look, I'm dealing with a landlord at the moment, and I was speaking to her today, and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad you're kicking my butt," um, because she's going around the property. The property became vacant about 4 weeks ago. It's $500 a week property became vacant about 4 weeks ago.
Mhm,
They fixed some skirting boards or whatever. She's going around trying to find other things to fix.
mhm,
And I was saying to her, "Can we get it rented? Can we get it rented? I've got applications on this property. I want to get it rented." And she's saying to me, "Oh, just one more week, because I want to try and do this, and I want to try and do that. And
mhm,
do you think I should put a bigger air conditioner in?" And I just got her on the phone today, and I said, "Don't do anything else. Just stop.
mhm.
You've already lost $2,000."
Wow.
In the last week. And then she said, "Oh," and then she rang me back again in the afternoon saying, "Oh, I never thought of it that way. I didn't ever think that I just lost $2,000."
Yeah.
I said, "Stop throwing money at this property.
Mhm.
If the air conditioner breaks, then you can put another air conditioner.
Yeah.
You need to put air conditioners. You don't stop trying to find things to pay for the property." Um, so yeah, vacancies are an invisible expense.
Mhm.
That's it's probably why you need a really good property manager as well, because you
Absolutely.
need to
Getting
minimize.
that property marketed and rented out quickly, that's a key to your success. You wanna
Yeah,
get that property and have a tenant move in as soon as possible so you can start getting that rent into your bank account.
yeah, yeah. And look, if there's little things to fix, don't wait. Don't wait
Mhm.
to fix those little things, especially with new properties. You guys are doing a lot of new properties, and we've got one of your clients that actually just came over, and there
Yeah.
were a few little things that the builder had not done,
Mhm.
and they wanted to wait, and I said, "No, we'll get a tenant in there, and then we'll work with the builder while the tenant is in there to fix those little things. As long as those little things don't make the property unlivable,
Yep.
there is no reason to wait." Like,
Absolutely. You don't wanna delay that process of anyone moving in at all, especially over something like small, like a light bulb or whatever it is.
yeah, yeah, light fittings, curtains at the
Don't
back.
let that hold you back.
Yeah,
Your number one priority should be to get your property under professional management and then get it rented out as soon as
yeah,
possible.
and minimize vacancies. Yeah, so a good property manager would also use the 28 days notice between
Mhm,
tenancies. So if a tenant is not renewing their lease, they have to give you 28 days notice. So
mhm.
within those 28 days, the property manager should be advertising the property and showing tenants through before the last tenant moves out.
Right, yeah, that's a great, fail-safe that you've got in place there as a part of your procedures. Um, so that's what I love about your rental system and how you manage properties because, you've got the experience, you've got the runs on the board, and you know all the best practices and what to do to set that property up for success.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And we've probably got time to talk about maybe one more on the list. And obviously, we're going to talk about the rest of the 7 things in our private group, which we're going to be joining very shortly. But just quickly, one last thing on the list.
One last thing, are there any requests?
Any
Um,
requests? Yeah, let us know. Air
what if
conditioning.
I recommend installing a split system even though the room has a fan and panel heater? Would you follow that advice? Is it just throwing money away? I would say that if there's no split system and they have seen the property before they moved in, it is just throwing money away. You can actually put
There
a
you
split
go.
system in for the next tenants. I know it sounds terrible, but put a split system in and then increase the rent for the next
Mm,
tenants. But these ones that are already in there, you don't have to. So it's not you're not legally obligated to put something in the property that wasn't there.
mhm.
So
Yeah.
since we've gone down that track, let's talk about maintenance then.
Okay. Maintenance. Yes.
So everything on the property has to be working. So that is legislation, and the governing bodies around Australia come down very hard on landlords that do not do maintenance. That means that if there is a split system and it's broken, you have to replace it.
Yeah.
You know, if the front door is not locking, that is actually an emergency. You have to get that fixed because
Yeah.
everything has to be lockable.
That's fair. The property needs to be in good working order because you've got someone living in there, you know, you've got families living in there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But if they request, you know, you take the split system air conditioner out and then add ducted air conditioning, or in our case, they didn't want a electric hot water service, they wanted a gas one, and they kept demanding and demanding, and eventually took the landlord to court. Got nowhere. We knew they were going to get nowhere, but you know, this is what tenants do, and landlords have a right to say no. That's what was in it. You inspected the property. That's what's there. It's working. I don't have to replace it. You can if you want, but you don't have to.
Yeah, I think it needs to be like a fair and reasonable request. And obviously, like you said, if something wasn't there, you're not obligated as a landlord to then provide that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That makes sense. Okay, fantastic. We might have time to sneak in one more. I think we've gone through 3 things so far on the list of the 7. We've got about 4 minutes left.
4 minutes? Okay, quickly. Insurance.
Insurance. Yes, this is a big one, guys.
Insurance. So you need the correct landlord's insurance. There are 3 companies that we use. We use Tereshia, we use PI Plus, and we use EBM. Do not use a supermarket insurance. And by that I mean bank.
Right.
So do not use the ones that are recommended by your bank. It doesn't matter who you use for building insurance. I'm talking about landlord's insurance, and the difference is that building insurance insures the building. Landlord's insurance insures the piece of paper that you call the lease agreement.
They're 2 separate things, guys. It's very important you understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you get a tenant paying $500 a week for 12 months, that insurance ensures that you're going to receive an income of $500 a week for 12 months. So if the tenant defaults, if they say you're in South Australia and the tenant defaults because they got a job in Melbourne and they have absconded, left the property, and it takes usually say 6 weeks. If they're going to abscond to Melbourne, most of the time they leave their furniture and everything behind. So it leaves a cleaning job for the agent. So we'll go in there, dump that furniture, get rid of everything, get it re-rented, and then the landlord's insurance will kick in, and they will actually pay the 6-week vacancy. So remember, vacancies are a huge expense. So having insurance that's going
you
to
need that landlord insurance just to cover you when it comes to those potential vacancies. So that's super important. And getting an understanding of how that can save you, you know, thousands of dollars is really crucial to your property success.
Yeah. And somebody said, I was surprised by how cheap it is to get landlord's insurance. It's a one price. So it's not on the value of the house. So it's usually about $350 a year. So it's not even it's a no-brainer when you think about it.
Total no-brainer, absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of our Facebook Live. Thank you so much for joining us, Xena. We've got to jump into our private group with our members now to talk about the rest of these 7 things. And I can see lots of people have put some questions in. Don't worry, our team will get to you. We'll go in and answer your questions. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and good night.
And thanks for all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.